So welcome back, everybody, to our final session of this first assembly. And as we promised, I'm going to give you a couple of the ideas that came across in the last session, where you came back with ideas that could be put in place today or implemented, or just overall recommendations. That you recommended that the higher music education environment be a safer one, that it provides support and care for mental, physical, and professional well-being, that institutions share values such as respect and equality of treatment and access, that communication be a cornerstone of the institutional values and system, so that communication is not just up and down, but also sideways and collaboratively across departments, between teachers and students, between students and teachers and administration. That more generically, collaboration be also a pillar of the institutional mode of operating, collaboration and crossover. That students be empowered to take responsibility for their pathways. So these are just a few of the recommendations that were made, but since they came up in a number of groups, it seems important to validate them. And now I would like to talk about our next exercise, which is a really critical, important moment where we are going to work on drafting some recommendations. And as I mentioned earlier, these recommendations are not just for the sake of making recommendations, but the idea is that they would be then incorporated into the publications of the group, and that they would be forwarded to the European Association of Conservatoires as recommendations for the higher music education sector. So we're about to split you up into 7 working groups. And in these working groups, we are asking you to address 2 questions. How might power relations in your institutions be more fair? And how can you facilitate empowerment in higher music education? So for these 2 statements about making power relations in your institutions more equitable, more fair, and for the question of facilitating empowerment in higher music education, we would ask that each group work on drafting 3 or 4 statements or recommendations. And just to give you a little, some words to help you with that, a recommendation would be, for example, we strongly recommend that, or in order to make power relations more fair, we strongly recommend that, or we urge institutions to do X, Y, Z. So without further ado, I'm going to put you, Barbara's going to put you in your breakout groups, and I'm going to stretch this out a little bit because I think it's very important, to 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes to draft 3 or 4 statements on these 2 questions. And we will come back and share the suggestions together in a plenary before breaking out again into language-specific groups. So, good luck. So welcome back, and I must say I'm incredibly curious to hear the draft statements that you've come up with. during this last session. And I would just invite each of the working group members to share the statements from their group. So, Jesus?
With pleasure. And well, it is a mixture, right? So I wouldn't go from one question to another. So I will read them because it's a mixture, not in order. Okay. So a very good suggestion was that there should be some time in a year to get together teachers and students, and not only to have a feedback from the students of how the classes went on and if they are okay, just to talk about everything, just the repertoire, the way that the classes are, in order to, for next term, to improve or to let it go if it's okay. Another one was more educational programs for everyone to choose from, opportunities for choosing different subjects, freedom to do it. And one thing that it was repeated in different people was blind auditions for entrance examinations.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was an idea that in some departments are many more men than women, but we didn't come out with an idea to facilitate the empowerment of whoever decides to choose who is getting the job, right? So there is the problem, but we don't have a solution for that. And another idea, the last one, is being clear, sharing all the information from the staff, not just for the teachers, but only as well for the students. Those are the 3-4 main ideas.
So just coming back to the one about gender equality, are you suggesting affirmative action?
Well, we didn't talk about the action, but we raised the problem. And I think we needed more time to have to come with a suggestion. So sorry, I don't have it.
Okay, Anna?
Thank you. We had a very productive conversation around 3 topics, one of which was language and accessibility. So we wrote that we urge institutions to open towards international students and teachers and create safer space for them to access lessons, materials, extracurricular activities, entrance brochures and exams, and follow the academic life in general. And here we open the questions about the context, because we are not coming from the same institutions, but this would be the general one. Then we talked about the network of care, and we wrote, we strongly recommend higher music education institutions to create a network of care to provide students, teachers, and staff with the support of their physical and mental health and well-being. And also we talked about opening universities to the society and making connections between job markets and needs of the profession and education. So this was in the very last minute, but we wrote something like we urge institutions to implement students' outlook on their own professions and give them voice and space to contribute to their professions by creating innovative practices.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Lassie?
Yes, we have very good discussions, and we have 4 pieces that we thought were most important. It could be, in fact, 3. One was that it should be service for students with disability. And it should also be access for help with mental health. Could be the same. And it should be empowerment, permanent group with working with power relations in whole school with teachers, with the management, with the choosing of music and so on. And we want also there should be a human resource person that could speak with everyone. It should be the same person for teachers, management, and students. And this human resource person should be safe for everyone to talk with. That was all our 4 suggestions.
Carolina?
Yes, so we have a little bit more statements, but let me read them. We advise to staff and all decision-making positions, people and representatives from the 3 core groups: faculty, administration, and student body. So we would like them to make be decision-making people too. And in order to make power relations more fair, we recommend creating safer spaces for those 3 groups to interact with each other in support and without fear of retaliation. We strongly recommend to implement teacher training and pedagogical reflection and classes for all faculty staff. We urge institutions to explore ways to foster dialogue between the 3 core groups and cultural representatives. And in order to make power relations be more fair, we strongly recommend that leadership in music academy institutions is divided between 3 persons that have deep knowledge and experience from at least 2 of the following fields: teaching in academy for at least 5 years, and to choose, that would be mandatory, to choose from research, teaching, pedagogy, artistic work, HR, artistic production, management, academic administration, so to include all of those people. We should implement evaluations of leadership and administration decision-making strategies and routines twice each year, made by students and employees. And we should implement mandatory HR education for any member of staff who has leading position. We should implement teams or teachers working together to create the education at hand in order to prevent vital educational decisions to be made solely on administrational grounds. The last one, we have to adapt to implement and develop new digital safe modes of safe anonymous feedback and evaluation, such as apps to be used by teachers, students, and staff. I know these are too many statements. We just didn't have time to choose the 3 or 4, but yeah.
That's great. That's great. Esther?
Yes, thank you, Gretchen. We have 6, but some of them are a bit similar. So I'm gonna try to combine a few. We really recognize the importance of conversation about power relations in order to recognize them and to make them visible, also for those that are in power, powerless, the thing that Anabu talked about, and that resulted in, we urge institutions to offer obligatory workshops and trainings to students, teachers, and staff members to empower them and to recognize power relations, no matter whether these are positive or negative ones. We urge institutions to open up the conversations and do some research on resolutions, such as care centers, informal and formal trainings for everyone to recognize power relations, and to have students and faculty working openly and transparently together to create a safe environment. I think here the key word is also research, that we know what's going on in the institutions. And indeed, the care centers was something that came back with us as well. And that the conversation is started using different formats. So online, anonymously, trainings, workshops, discussions, informal and formal, and that those are open for everyone to attend so that it's transparent. And the last one is to urge institutions to create new roles to help teachers, students, and staff to communicate to each other about troubles related to bad behavior or just to handle new projects.
Great. Megan?
Yes, thank you, Gretchen. So we had a very interesting conversation and we have come up with 4 possible ideas. So we urge institutions to have more conversations about the topic of power relations within our institutions. For example, having maybe some learning modules in power relations and actually discussing that among students and teachers. We recommend the idea of a review of structures within institutions, enabling a better support mechanism for both students.
Can you just slow down?
Oh, sorry, okay. We recommend the idea of a review of structures within institutions, enabling a better support mechanism for teachers and students. We urge institutions to have an ethics board or a mood board or something like that for a safer space where different issues can be discussed amongst students. And we recommend the sharing of knowledge and different teaching methods to empower both students and teachers. And some ideas were then to have some co-teaching modules to empower everyone involved.
Wow. I'm impressed. I think everybody has spoken. Constanza. I don't have.
Yes, and here are the results of my jury, feeling like song contest. The recommendations of my group were 6. We strongly recommend to decentralize power and consult important decisions with employees at every level of the hierarchy. We strongly recommend to holding department staff meetings, at least 1 per 3 months, with representatives of the student council within the department to discuss future projects and possibilities and any existing irregularities. We strongly recommend to organize seminars on methodology for teachers in order to facilitate their knowledge of how to empower the students. We recommend to allow more flexibility in the curricular committees to share the different needs for artistic and didactic or researching aspects. We strongly recommend to ensure that power is evenly distributed amongst staff members with regard to decision-making about course content, repertoire choices, exam structure. This is to ensure that no one member of staff has too much power or responsibility. And we strongly recommend a mixed board of teachers, students, and admin to accompany the workflow within the institution. Thank you.
Wow. Well, I think, we have just an incredible, it's like an encyclopedia here. It's going to take us some time to just read these and put them together, but I think that we have some really serious recommendations here. And I can just only say congratulations, because we've just met over the last 2 days, but you've come up with these incredibly constructive proposals that are very strong and that you'll be able to support in discussions within your institutions. So that's great. Does anybody want to add anything to this now that was a very, from my perspective, that was one of the most important sessions of this assembly. Does anybody want to make a comment or add something? Do you feel that you've been heard in your groups? It looks that way. So our next moment is going to allow you to be with the members of your own institution. So it allows you to speak your own language. And one of our working group members suggested that you can even write on the concept board in your language what you share during this time. So the questions for this group, and we will write them in the chat, are: what has changed for you in your understanding of power relations? What would you like to change in your institution? And what is one thing that each of you can implement immediately in your institution. So I will repeat these three topics. What has changed for you in your understanding of power relations? What would you like to change in your institution? And what is one thing each of you can implement immediately in your institution? And we will give you 25 minutes, and then we will come back for a final plenary, and then you will be free to enjoy your Saturday. Welcome back to our final 10 minutes. I just want to ask from each group if one representative can say one sentence quickly about your conversation. And so it's just can be one suggestion or one thought. And I would like to start with Alexandra from Kharkov. Who's in our group.
Yeah, okay. So what I understood from our group conversation that all members of the group are willing to start to do something. And I think the first step for all of us will be start to speaking to our colleagues and also our students to know better what problems they're facing, and then start to do something more concrete if there are some problems.
Great, thank you. From Constance's group.
Yes, I think this weekend has shown us that we learned that we have still a lot to do. There's a lot of things to do, but this reflection gave each one of us a feeling of power, of empowerment, and to speak up inside our own school and carry the spirit of this weekend back home.
Great, Megan's group.
Yes, so we were similar. We kind of came to the conclusion that there are so many similarities between all the different colleges, but we really felt that ours was quite progressive and already really making big steps in the right direction. But there's one thing that we definitely need to change, and that's communication across all the different departments within the college, be it between part-time and full-time staff, academics and performance classes, students and staff and faculty. There's just, yeah, so many little barriers that still need to be opened up a bit more. And then for things that we can implement immediately, we said that we can make, for example, students more aware of documents where we can file complaints and know who to contact that we realized we didn't know about existed. And really make sure that the student union and all faculty know about the facilities and structures already in place.
Thank you. Lasse.
Yes, and I missed that we should have when spokesperson in the groups. Är det någon från min grupp som skulle kunna tänka säga någonting annat sammanfattar jag? Är det någon som skulle kunna sammanfatta lite grann?
Sarah? Oh. You have
no, please,
Rebecca?
Lasse, go ahead.
Sarah?
Okay, when I go ahead, we spoke about how we will continue, and we have a suggestion we should have ambassadors that will be trained in the school, and also that we could learn to see the gray zones and start the communication on a better way. Also that it be very clear on the power relations they are and different role of this.
Ambassadors, I like that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So what we thought basically is, first of all, strategical development of so thinking about the long-term run and how to build knowledge sharing and dialogue spaces, just to have a protocol and a method to actually get the mental well-being of students, and this also can be done by having a power redistribution, even though it was a term that we had to discuss a little bit because we are still afraid a little bit of the term power, but having a power redistribution between the bodies of our institutions, so be it professors or teachers, students, the board of directors, and the administrative office.
Great. I'm looking around here, I'm sort of losing track. Carolina.
Yes, so Estera, please go ahead.
Yes, you have discussed the need of disability assistant at every university because students with disabilities have different needs, and sometimes they are too shy to say that they need help and need different approach. And also mental assistant. For example, at our university, there is a psychologist who is employed by the university, and it works really well. And we discussed the thing about information. For example, first thing, we have very international environment at our university, but the information, the pieces of information are shared in Polish language. And we found it really important to share important things in English language because it's a huge issue at our university, or maybe many universities. And we discussed also a way of sharing the information, more accessible way of creating the information. I mean also Polish language, because sometimes it is built in quite difficult way to understand. For example, there are some documents that are written in non-accessible way for students that who don't know the law. And we discussed the need of feedback, for example, questionnaires for students, not only about the professor's work, but also about the office's workers, about their work and our needs with communication with them.
Good. Have I come? Anna, sorry, apologies.
Yeah, well, Croatian crew talked about power relation in general in our institutions, because we have a feeling that nobody's talking about it, but there is a lot of issues, and we felt a little bit behind some institutions from the north, and you know, because we will probably talk about some issues in 20 years if we start doing something now. So we decided, and I'm very glad that we decided to create a safer space to empower people to even start talking about power relations and be aware of the importance of it in our institution. And also what we would like to do is to create some meetings in this style within our institutions, like regularly meetings every month maybe. So yeah, because we just want to be agents of change for that, and we have power to empower people around us.
Bravo. Great. So I think I've come full circle. Thank you so much. I just want to ask very briefly, since time is short, is there anything that you didn't get to say that you absolutely want to say before we leave each other? Now's your moment.
Thank you. Thank you for facilitating this.
And then to just share that this, everything that's come out of these 2 days will be shared with the steering committee and with the editorial board that prepared the documents and put us in touch with Anna Bull and gave us the video by Robert Chambers. And they will be voting on these suggestions. And our next assembly will focus on gender and sexual orientation. So you can already put your thinking cap on and start thinking if you have suggestions or documents or information that you would like to share. We will be really delighted to hear from you. And I would just like to say that it's been a real pleasure and an honor to spend these 2 days with you. And we're really excited about moving forward in our next assembly live, which we hope will be live here in Graz. So wishing you all the best. Esther, do you have anything to add?
We will come back to you after the assembly with, of course, all the outcomes, with the recording of this video, with the material that we've gathered from all the sessions. And we'll have a meeting on Zoom in November to finalize this first assembly and to prepare for the next assembly. So we will now share, like Gretchen has said, this with the steering committee, with the institutions, with the editorial board, so that we can get their feedback and their input. And then we'll finalize the recommendations and our talks sometime in November. We haven't planned the date yet. And then hopefully, indeed, we will see you at the end of February here in Graz. And that's it.
So that's it. Wishing you all the very best as power relations ambassadors in your institutions. I think that's the best thing we could imagine. And we will continue to grow as ambassadors in our next meeting. So thank you all, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.